Well, here's a fresh relief coming from the Reserve Bank of India, which has now in a notification said that all 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, so that these old notes can be exchanged over the counter at an RBI branch. They are not allowed to be exchanged in banks anymore. That was cleared yesterday after the cabinet meet as well. 1,000 rupee notes have been completely taken out of circulation. All 500 rupee notes can still be used across 23 outlets, including petrol pumps, government milk booths, railway tickets, metro tickets till December 15th. But now the RBI has said that looking at the inconvenience faced by the common man, you have the banned notes of 500 and 1,000 rupees that can be exchanged around the RBI counters, and the current limit per person will be still taken into consideration. So take a listen to some reaction coming in.
प्रारंभ में 10 नवंबर से 24 नवंबर तक 4,000 रुपया तक के पुराने 500 एवं 1,000 रुपये के नोट बदले जा सकते हैं। 15 दिनों के बाद यानी 25 नवंबर से 4,000 रुपये की सीमा में वृद्धि कर दी जाएगी।
So that was the Prime Minister's announcement the day the demonetization was announced, that over-the-counter exchange of all notes will be allowed. The limit will be increased. We've seen several flip-flops also in the government's policy, several extensions that have been made because over-the-counter exchange of all notes was suspended from yesterday midnight. So only 500 rupee notes were allowed in circulation, but now the RBI has said that you can walk up to the RBI branch for over-the-counter exchange. Now initially the government had allowed up to 4,000 rupees over-the-counter exchange, which was raised to 4,500 rupees, then cut to 2,000 rupees after widespread abuse was noticed. And also remember, the government had come out with another approach of using an indelible ink so that people do not come again and again to the banks and exchange notes and misuse the system. It was only one person who was allowed to come once with 2,000 rupee notes and old notes to exchange them for new. My colleague Virendra joining us on the story. So Virendra, it's only allowed at the RBI counters, not across the banks for the moment, the exchange of old notes with the limit of 2,000 rupees per person.
That's true, Ravina. In fact, the whole idea is to reduce the queues at the banking counter. In fact, the late evening circular coming from RBI has clearly mentioned that now these notes, the old denomination notes, would not be exchanged at the banking counters at any of the branches. The people have to come to the RBI counters for that. And another important aspect is that those people who want to exchange the notes and those who don't have any bank account, even the bank official will make sure that they open a new bank account for their benefit. So that what the government is trying to do is, one is reducing the pressure on the bank, and second, making sure that each and every person should open a bank account, whether they exchange it or they deposit it.
All right, Virendra, let's also take a listen in to what the Prime Minister had promised when the demonetization policy was announced to ease out the process for the common man, that how the exchange limit will be allowed and will be increased. The window will also be opened for a longer time.
प्रारंभ में 10 नवंबर से 24 नवंबर तक 4,000 रुपया तक के पुराने 500 एवं 1,000 रुपये के नोट बदले जा सकते हैं। 15 दिनों के बाद यानी 25 नवंबर से 4,000 रुपये की सीमा में वृद्धि कर दी जाएगी।
So, while the initial announcement had said that the time limit will be increased and also the amount that can be exchanged over the counter will be increased, this is how we've seen the policy flip-flop so far. Initially, 4,000 rupee exchange were allowed across the counter in all the banks. This was raised to 4,500 rupees, but it was cut to 2,000 rupees after widespread abuse was noticed. The government also started using the indelible ink to ensure that individuals did not queue up multiple times. Now there is another notification after yesterday midnight. The exchange of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes were completely stopped. RBI has said that you can approach your nearest RBI branch and exchange the old notes for the new ones up to 2,000 rupees. So the old limit is still there. But Virendra, this also points out at once again the charge that the opposition is levelling policies not thought through, because so many changes have happened, at least 26 of them, since the time the demonetization drive took place. So say within 16 days, we've seen at least 26 flip-flops.
So that's true. That's completely true. What the politicians would do grab the opportunity to hit back to the central government on these changing guidelines. But the most important aspect is that in last 15 to 16, the queue of exchange has been reduced. In fact, after two major guidelines that came, that inedible ink, that was like a master stroke, because to reduce the people, most of the people who are sending their constructor work, laborers, and most of the helpers and very small kind of people to exchange the notes. So that was the important part. And second, reducing the amount from 4,000. These two important guidelines really made a difference, because now in fact we are seeing minuscule people on the banking counter coming for the exchange part. Even till yesterday there was hardly some people in most of the counters. So definitely the whole strategy is working in that way, that to reduce the exchanging people at the most that is required. And second, to reduce the load on the banking officials of the exchange part. Even if the person has a lot of cash in their hand, that's with the old denomination, they have to go to the nearby RBI counter with a limited amount, and they can exchange it, but not on a regular banking branches.
And that will also cause inconvenience to many who would like to avail the facility of the exchange of old notes to go to the Reserve Bank of India branch. It's more convenient to walk up to your neighborhood banking branch or a post office where it was initially allowed. Take a listen to the fact checker here at India Today. We've taken out the Prime Minister's first announcement when the demonetization was announced, that the exchange of old notes will be given more breather.
प्रारंभ में 10 नवंबर से 24 नवंबर तक 4,000 रुपया तक के पुराने 500 एवं 1,000 रुपये के नोट बदले जा सकते हैं। 15 दिनों के बाद यानी 25 नवंबर से 4,000 रुपये की सीमा में वृद्धि कर दी जाएगी।
Okay, so what we're looking now is that how first the limit was allowed up to 4,000 rupees over the counter exchange, then raised to 4,500, then cut to 2,000 rupees. Now, Virendra, does the clause of using indelible ink still apply at the RBI branches? Because after it was noticed that many people were trying to abuse the system, going multiple times with more cash, will the indelible ink clause be applied to those who are walking up to their RBI branches?
It would be used, because what the officials are still saying that no matter the RBI counter, they will definitely putting the ink on the finger of each and every person who will be coming for the exchanging note, because what the banking officials believe that most of the unaccounted money really gets converted via exchange route on these banking counters. In last 16 days, the queue has been completely reduced. In fact, what the officials believe that most of the unaccounted money has got deposited rather than exchanged. But before these two important guidelines, reducing the amount from 4,500 to 2,000, and the inedible ink, there was a long queue on the exchange counter, and that has been completely drastically reduced because of the further strategy. But now, if any person who has old currency want to exchange their amount, because there might be many a common man in the country, they want to exchange still the old notes. Now they have to struggle a lot. They have to find where are the RBI branches around, because that is very difficult to find. Like you said, you can go to nearby any banking branches. It could be the public bank or the private bank. They could get it done easily. But now they have to go all the way to the RBI branch, and they have to do it in case if they don't have any kind of a banking account. There are many people who have only identity card, PAN card, or any KYC details, but they don't have any bank account. But now this circular which RBI has sent yesterday late evening, saying very clearly that if a person has no bank account, make sure that he opens a bank account and get official noted in the banking list. So definitely, the strategy is working. There could be a debate. Devina rightly said, number of guidelines have changed. Number of it's changing every day. Even banking officials are getting confused what exactly they have to do. Every day, every night they have to inform, communicate, and circulate the internal communication to all the banking officials. So from next day they have to implement these and these things. But yes, at the end of the day, what the Prime Minister is trying to check, to create a check and balance of still reduce these people who are still coming on the counter of exchange, because this exchange part has to be reduced, because most of the unaccounted money, we can bluntly say that most of the black money is getting converted on this exchange counters via using number of people. It could be small people.
Well, Virendra, here is a question also of the changing rules and the multiple times and how the common man is trying to catch up with it, because there have been so many changes. So we're breaking it down for them. Look at the withdrawal from bank, for example. November 8th, 10,000 rupees per day, 20,000 rupees a week. That was the initial policy announced. And November 13th, it shifted to 24,000 rupees a week. November 14th, 50,000 a week for current account holders. That was the limit that was announced. November 17, 25,000 a week for farmers who have loans. And November 17th to 21st, you had 2.5 lakh rupee that could be withdrawn for marriages against strict rules as well. Let's also take a look at how there have been withdrawal from ATM policy that have seen changes. November 8th, you had 2,000 per day. That was the initial policy that came out. November 13th to current, now you can have 22,500 rupees per day. Now, let's not forget that ATMs were shut when the initially policy was announced, because there was also a fear of cash crunch. 2,500 rupee notes were not available till a long time. November 8th, for deposit in accounts, there was no limit that was given. You could deposit as much as you want to, 50,000 rupees. Now it's been a limit which is imposed for Jantar accounts on November 15th. And also we have seen that any deposit above 2.5 lakh rupees will come under the income tax scrutiny, because then you'll have to match your declared income with the deposit in the bank account. So that's been the changing cash rules in the deposit as well. Let's also take a look at how there have been other announcements from the government side on the exchange of old notes. Now, let's not forget, initially 4,000 rupees were allowed. Then the limit went up to 4,000. It was the 2,000 rupee limit that was set with indelible ink usage to check the system. Now we're joined by Mr. Bipin Malik, who's a former RBI director at the moment. Mr. Malik, thanks for speaking to India today, this morning. When Dr. Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister, a well-known economist, said there's been a monumental failure in implementing the demonetization policy, it was also reflected in the changing rules that we've seen on the government's policy that's inconvenienced many people. But now what you're seeing is that exchange of old notes being allowed at the RBI branch. Do you believe that this kind of stress can be taken by the Reserve Bank of India officials, which are already filled with the implementation of basics on the ground?
So far as the first question on RBI's monument, Mr. Manmohan Singh's response on a monumental change, and this should not have been done. I totally disagree, because the way the corruption had been in the last 10 years it has been so much that certain changes were required. Such type of drastic steps were required. Now, coming back to your question on the the changes from time to time the Reserve Bank is doing, is there any choice left with Reserve Bank of India? You see, I mean, no doubt, apparently it seems that they were not ready for such sudden announcement. Neither the currency was ready, nor the officers were ready, nor the banking ATMs were calibrated properly. So, I mean, there are issues of such nature, but frankly, if such thing has happened, now they are correcting by so that the...
What is the point? The economy, which is claiming to grow 7% plus in the GDP, we are one of the fastest growing emerging economies. Can we afford such delays? Can we afford such mismanagement? Because today morning we also had another story of 500 notes, the new ones being misprinted because of the rush which the RBI is dealing with. And now you have 500,000 rupee notes only to be exchanged across the Reserve Bank of India. Perhaps the date could have been extended for the banks, if so that there is a better management on the ground.
You see, I'm also surprised on the imperfect notes being released. There is a zero tolerance on imperfect notes. Let me tell you, even one note which used to come as an imperfect note and is in the market, there used to be inquiry on how this imperfect note has been issued. But if it has been issued in a large manner, imperfect notes of such nature, it means that there is something basically wrong. You see, we have a state-of-art machine, and state-of-art machine means that even one sheet is, if wrongly printed or there is some such mismatches, the machine itself throws it. Then there are prescribed officers who used to inspect the notes. Each sheet used to be inspected by prescribed officers. But how could these notes have been issued? I am also surprised.
Well, Mr. Malik, I believe the time is of essence here, and because they are working against a very tough deadline, looking at the cash crunch, that's why we've seen such cases come to light. Appreciate you joining us and speaking to India Today, sir. Thank you so much. That's the voice coming from the former RBI director who said that imperfect notes being printed by the RBI has a zero tolerance, and it only raises the issue of the gross mismanagement and the hurried nature in which the policy has been implemented, including the one in which 500,000 rupee notes can be exchanged at the RBI counters only, will lead to more stress for the Reserve Bank of India. At the headlines. After Dr. Manmohan Singh's blistering attack on the government's demonetization drive, the Prime Minister heads back, says those accusing government of being unprepared actually had no time to prepare to get rid of the illegal cash piles.
समझता हूं कि मुद्दा ये